Hello, 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 hello. It's good to see you. Say hello.
Welcome to the Huskies Hockey Podcast. Weldie and Andrew here for another week of all Husky-related news and non-news, as it turns out, as the team still is without a coach, as the coaching search kind of rolls on, left in the wake after Brett Larson's exit, and we've had kind of a trickle out of who has interviewed, and it looks like we've got the deadline that was self-imposed, so they wanted to act quickly. That has came and gone, and it looks like maybe next week we'll go ahead and get an answer of what's going to happen here with who's going to lead the team into the next I guess 8 years. We can just pencil that in right now. So yeah, still without a coach. Sydney Wolf did report that they had a team meeting on Friday, and just kind of gave the team a little bit of an update, in saying that there is a looks to be a lot of points aside, pointing to Oliver, but there is kind of a lot of ins and outs and what have yous that are going on right now that are kind of keeping that away from an official announcement, at least. So I guess with the news for Husky related, before we get into the Herbies, which will be later in the show, thank you everybody for voting, but before we get there, here still without a coach, what are your thoughts about how everything has transpired so far?
It's an unusual situation, and there's a lot of dynamics at play. The signs definitely do point to Oliver. Realistically speaking, if he were to be the guy, it would make sense for them to hit the brake pedal before actually making that announcement official.
Mm-hmm.
Him, obviously, his season at Wisconsin still in progress at the Frozen Four, obviously, this coming week. So, and there might be contract obligations, Oliver at Wisconsin, that would make him hesitate. Because again, this can be done in terms of like announcing that he's going to be the head coach, even though he's going to remain at Wisconsin until the end of the season. I don't think that would be a shocker. It happens in other sports fairly regularly. But we did see stuff like Wisconsin reported, or Maluski for Wisconsin reported, that there was some bonuses that kicked in for the coaching staff for making the Frozen Four. And we did see the stipulations on Larson's contract, the U, which included bonuses not only for making the Frozen Four, but also going to the championship game and then winning the national title. So I don't know if Oliver's contract is similarly structured, but it wouldn't surprise me if it is, that potentially he might have a bonus just if they win one game or two in Vegas, which in that case, that might make a pre-hiring, so to speak, at St. Cloud more tricky in terms of just collecting bonuses that might be on the table for Oliver. So I'm well aware and willing to accept that there are some very good reasons that we haven't had the official announcement made yet. And again, if the end game of all of this is that Oliver is hired whenever that day is, I will be happy, because I think he's certainly our number one candidate among the realistic names that we've seen floated out there. And if that's how it shakes out, then I think we're in the best possible situation.
Other than Patrick Waugh, obviously. Now
correct.
Patrick Waugh is available now. Peter DeBoer, cross him off the list of potential candidates, as now he takes over for Waugh. But maybe, Patrick Waugh.
Tortorella previously being scratched off the list by his hiring in Vegas as well.
The coaches list just getting shorter and shorter.
Yeah. I do think that odds on it will be Oliver. And if it is, I'm going to be happy. And the steps that they've made to date, which include, as you referred to, originally their first timeline, which they announced a few days after Larson's official departure, was that they wanted to get head coach in by the following week, which would have been the week we just lived through. So obviously that's come and gone. We still don't have a head coach. So they did adjust that timeline, bumped it out another week. And even then, I don't know if that's going to be met because Oliver's Wisconsin team plays on Thursday. If they lose that game, and they will be the underdog against North Dakota, I suppose you could make that announcement on Friday. That almost seems unlikely to me, just the time of that. So, or if they win that game, then clearly they're playing on Saturday, which in that case, you're definitely not making an announcement of Oliver's hiring until Monday at the earliest, probably Tuesday. I would say on air production meeting, I think we should record our next show on Tuesday of next week, because I think that's probably when we're going to hear who the new coach is going to be, Oliver or whoever else it is. I think that'd be a good idea. But so they've already had to kick it out once.
That would be right after the transfer portal opens as well.
Right. Another
as reason. It's the 13th on the Monday. So we can kind of see if there's what type of panic meter we can have, the Homeland Security, even though that might not be funded right now, we could have the threat levels.
Could do that
of the Huskies of departures.
And it did open for the Gophers, and I did get some clarity on that because it's 5 days after the new coach is announced. That might be moot, though, because they might, as I said, if that's the date that we should be circling, would be the Tuesday after the Frozen Four, which would be the 14th. Well, as you mentioned, the portal opens for everybody on the 13th. So it might, unless they do make a hire this week, meaning like before the Frozen Four actually starts, which would probably mean it's not Oliver, then the opening of the portal will it would not be affected by this coaching move because it'll be concurrent with whenever it's open for everybody else. So, and it did open for the Gophers, and I don't think we saw too much movement. One or two, I think, from the Gophers after Larson took that job. So it opens 5 days after the new guy is hired.
I think I just saw Nathan Airy.
Yeah, I thought maybe one more name. And again, we might see more when the portal opens for business for everybody as well. But so again, having to kick out the deadline or the anticipated announcement of the new coach, already having to do that once and maybe doing that again. Maybe I read that announcement wrong. The Friday announcement that they made, or update that they made to say that it'll be next week instead of that week that had just ended. Which again would make sense if it is going to be a guy like Oliver. We did also hear from Sydney Wolf, and just shout out to Sydney Wolf, because one frustration I was having was just the lack of any reporting that we had coming out of this search. Mentioned this on the last show, how the difference in the Gopher, the Motzko exit, and then the Larson courting, making the Larson move official. That was being reported by several sources with people not even officially on the Gopher beat. St. Cloud's position, I mean, we haven't really heard much at all. Hatton's been largely silent on it. It's been Wolf that's been kind of taking the lead here, and thank goodness for her, because if not, we would be completely in the dark. We haven't heard anything from Schreiner. There's been 2 announcements, very short press releases that the school has put out about these timelines that I'm mentioning. Expect something soon, basically. Greg Tomso, the new prez, did a radio interview. Was that WJON?
I believe so, yeah.
And he made it seem that they've been hired. He mentioned that there have been 7 interviews that have been conducted. Didn't say any names, of course, but everyone's going to be delighted with the pick, and this candidate's going to be revolutionary for the program, really kind of pumping up the tires on this new hire, which again, if you're reading between the lines and trying to decipher what this might indicate, it sounds like these would be the things that someone would say about like the front runner candidate, which we assume to be Oliver. These would also be the steps made by an incompetent administration that's going to bungle this thing. And that's where when we kind of first heard Oliver's among the finalists, I like 90% sure. The last couple of days have made me soften that. Maybe I'm still like 75%. I still think it is going to be Oliver. And again, I'd be happiest if it were to be Oliver, even though there are some other good candidates. And I wrote about them in one of my last cloud coverage piece that I did. That was after the report.
That was a very good post.
Oliver, Jason Herder from Western Michigan, and Travis Winter from Bemidji had all interviewed for the job. Wolf had reported that they were the supposed 3 finalists for the job. McMahon,
the Huskies hat trick.
And I'm not, because then on Friday they said that finalist interviews are going to be taking place this weekend, meaning the 3rd, 4th, and 5th, which I would assume would be like second interviews. So I'm not sure.
Which is Easter weekend. That's weird. Like, right? I mean, that is like, that whole timing of it is kind of bizarre to me.
But I mean, the calendar is what you got to work with. And if they are planning to move quickly, which they should, holidays be damned, I suppose. It's the time to do it. And it probably is more convenient, with even Easter notwithstanding, to do it on a weekend rather than for instance, Oliver. He's going to be traveling here in a little bit, and they're going to be practicing for the Frozen Four. So his weekly calendar is probably pretty booked solid at this point. So maybe the best to do it on a Saturday or a Sunday. We did hear that Mike McMahon reported that Ben Simon, a guy I've not heard of at all, Iowa Wild assistant, Notre Dame grad, he had interviewed for the job. Kind of the first of these candidates that we just weren't familiar with. You'd expect guys like that to be part of this process. Wolf further reported that Brett Skinner was interviewed, who I talked about in previous cloud coverage piece. He's the USHL Fargo Force current head coach, who I think is a candidate, a name on the rise. I think he'll land a college head coaching job within the next couple of years, I bet, the way that his trajectory's been going. I thought that was, he's a candidate that I praised in a previous piece. So I was pleased to see his name in the mix. We don't know what those 7 names include. Presumably that would at least include one of, or both of, the current assistants, top 2 assistants, Enga and Eric Rude as well. And that brings me to the other piece of news that Wolf mentioned. The bit that potential candidates or applicants, let's say, were told that the current assistant staff was going to be retained under the new head coach. Meaning, and I'm not sure if that includes Clark Custer. I would kind of assume that her tweet was that the current assistants would all be retained. I read that as Enga, Rude, and Kuster. Kuster being the 3rd guy on that list. Maybe he's not part of that group, but presumably at least Enga and Rude would be retained. Want your take on that, because it's a move that can handcuff the new hire, unable to hire their own assistants. At the same sense, keeping those guys aboard, you'd think, if Larson's gone, the next best thing of trying to retain as much talent in St. Cloud than either going to the portal, maybe even following Larson to the U, would be to have at least one or both of the assistants to stay on as some sort of like continuity measure. We can try to retain as much of this current roster, as well as the guys in the pipeline that have been committed to St. Cloud, keeping not clearing the entire staff out, and keeping at least one of these guys on board might keep a guy like Bernovic in town. I mean, I'm just throwing out the names that we're most kind of worried about flight risks. So again, if it's up to me, and there's also the money aspect of it, which might be the main driver of this for St. Cloud State, is that do you really want to bite a bullet and pay a buyout of these contracts, one or both? Let's say if we're talking about Enga and Rude, while you're also going to be on the hook for a new head coach salary. I don't think those considerations should be as great, because I do think that they were let off the hook in some regard with having to dispose of Larson's contract, meaning you didn't have to buy him out because the Gophers took him off your hands. So wanting to save a couple of bucks by keeping Enga and Rude aboard strikes me as kind of like a cheaping out kind of move. But again, if you are concerned with trying to put out the most competitive team for the 26-27 season, keeping the assistants on might do that trick, I suppose. Again, I don't know if even that's wise, because this was a 5th place team. It's not like 2018 where this was a very good St. Cloud team that you did want to you wanted to continue as much of that success that the Motzko 2017-2018 team did, and try to keep as much of the band together for 18-19. I think a very different situation here, where this was a fairly mediocre team. And yes, there's a lot of good talent on this team. But even a guy like Bernovic, you bring him back, it's not like he's going to be there for 2 more years. You're bringing him back for probably 1 more year at most. And that 1 year is probably going to get you middle of the pack at best in the NCHC. So I've always kind of worried about trying to have too much of a focus on the short term. I'd rather have the school and the athletics department focus more on the long-term vision here. Keeping the assistants around to try to buoy this team's performance in the short term, I think is a bit of a mistake. And it has the potential to narrow your available field of candidates. Now, the names that we saw bubble to the top of the list here, Oliver, Herder, and Winter. And apparently Herder has withdrawn his name from consideration, but he did interview for the position, at least. That's been reported. I mean, those 3 candidates as being as like serious candidates, finalists or no, that leads me to believe that you're able to conduct a diligent search, and you didn't scare off some good candidates with that stipulation of needing to keep these assistants around, even though I don't really agree with it, but willing to try to give them the best possible reading of that. What was your take when you first heard that? And now as the search has continued here, what's your continued take on trying to retain the current staff and all those dynamics?
At first when I saw that, I felt like it was you're already kind of giving the new head coach I don't know, I guess maybe like a little bit of a handicap. A new head coach comes in, he wants to put his own stamp on the program. He wants to have his own people there. All that makes sense. The more that I think about it though, sure. Yeah. I mean, retaining the current players is, I think, a big key to it. Now, we don't know what those current relationships with Rude and Enga are. So, I mean, already that might be that might be kind of a moot point. But it's, I've been on the record saying that I'm looking at some of the commits coming in, and I've been really excited for them. Now we've got just recently Hawk Huff, big right-handed defenseman, 6'3". He has withdrawn his commitment to St. Cloud. So he's reopened everything back up. So already this has kind of thrown a wrench into some of those situations, some of those scenarios. What I'm kind of curious on exactly would be the timeline of everything. Now, when, these assistant coaches, I think they're on, in a majority of cases, on kind of a year-by-year contract. And, this was re-upped. Now, when were they re-upped for next year? Now, did we feel that Larson was still going to be the head coach at that time? Did Larson say that he wanted his assistant still on there, even though he was, trying to look at an exit plan here from St. Cloud State? Did we just not uncheck the auto renewal box on the subscription form, and all of a sudden, that's another year that went by. So, there's so many of those unanswered questions that I have that I can't I can't be, I guess, too upset about it. And it does give, I feel, the new coach a little bit of background of, the players, a little bit of an extra resources of, what they're good at, what they're not good at, what, how to push them. I think it can give that type of an aspect to it. As well as maybe even a little bit of a extra, I don't know, maybe buy you an extra year. It's like, well, this first year, I didn't even have my own guys in here. I came here with these guys that were already here, and I didn't really have my full staff. So it kind of buys you an extra year of development time. If it takes a little bit while to kind of get your own stamp on the program, it kind of gives you that. So there's all these kind of things are kind of bubbling up. But I feel that if you feel like you're getting the right guy and you want the right guy and you've got him, but he says that I'm not going to take the job unless I have my own staff, which I believe is within his right. Then I kind of look at that as like, you got to look at them buying them out. I mean, you've got to find a way to make that happen. Now, if that goes, if you're not able to do that and you end up going with your, second, third, fourth pick down the line because, everyone just kind of wants their own staff, then I think that's kind of a bigger issue that needs to be addressed. If all of a sudden we're looking at, somebody that's kind of an off the board pick, or worst case scenario, I think, one of the assistants, you keep them on staff to promote them to head coach. I don't feel any of that's going to be the case. I feel like it's going to be Oliver. And I think that's the only logical reason that there is this kind of long delay. St. Cloud didn't expect Wisconsin. Nobody expected Wisconsin to come out of that bracket. So it's just kind of like, if Oliver's racking up these bonuses, you're not going to buy out for those bonuses and you're going to want someone to go right away. I don't, so I feel like you're definitely like, it just makes too much sense right now for it that I think it is Oliver, that everything else just doesn't make sense if it was Winter. And hearing that Herder, I hadn't heard that Herder withdrew his application.
Schlossman reported that apparently.
Okay. So, because those were my 1A, 1B, Oliver and Herder. So if that's the case, then I mean, that would be a bungle. Everything else that even Thompson said is kind of pointing to Oliver. And I think it's just kind of a timing aspect of like, we just have to wait for it to happen. And it sucks that the portal's going to reopen right away. But if you're transparent with the team's going to know right away, who they're going to get, and they're going to form their own opinion. And we might, see that instance where you're going to open up to a lot of recruiting, or, a lot of people might go into the portal, and, a lot of them might withdraw and then come actually stay because, there's, flirt around, if see what else kind of gets off there. But if you want to give it a shot, and also it's 1 year. If you don't like what the new coach is giving you, you can, you have that option also the next year to go out. You've got that ability in this transfer portal area. So there's a lot of things kind of up in the air, but all these delays and everything, everything points to Oliver way too conveniently and easily that I'd be absolutely floored if it wasn't.
No, I agree. And I'm just, you want to go talk about cloud coverage pieces, look at the one I did on the attendance piece, the fifth and final article there, which was kind of charting St. Cloud State as a university over the last 15 years or so, and it's not a rosy picture of a competent school. So, and I just don't know enough about Tomso. Nick Oliver, I'm sure he didn't know the name Nick Oliver until like 3 weeks ago.
Probably
So
not.
I'm wondering like how much. I'm sure it's a lot of donors and alumni, well-connected alumni that way above our pay grade. That he's being advised by. It's weird that we've heard from him on the coaching search, but not Holly Schreiner. And the fact that Schreiner is just like releasing these very brief statements and nothing more, and very kind of just wrote, almost like if ChatGPT were to write them. That's a little unusual. But again, if it ends with the way that I want it to end, I'll forget about all this 2 days after the announcement's made. But if not, I mean, I'm thinking too, like, well, maybe they're thinking about like Dallas Ferguson or Tavis McMillan, the Denver assistants, because again, it's pointing to someone that still is in the midst of their season. Like, is there a Michigan assistant that I'm unfamiliar with that they're talking to? It would shock me. But again, its track record of this school has not been a very good one of late. So I don't put it past them to bungle this, but I do think that odds-on favorite Oliver, who has been sort of that favorite status when this possibility first arose, and I think it's becoming more and more apparent that he's probably going to be the guy. We just need to bring it to the end zone. We need to see him in front of that SCSU background screen with Schreiner announcing him as the new head coach. And with the assistants too, I'm more so like the balking at keeping both of them around. Keeping one of them around is what this school has done the last two coaching changes. Hiring Motzko in 2005, they kept Fred Harbinson around. He had been on Dahl's staff, so they kept him around. And that's actually when Motzko hired Eric Rude as his number 2 assistant. But you're keeping one assistant from the old regime, keeping them on board with the new hire. And then they did the same thing in 2018, hiring Larson. They kept Mike Gibbons aboard. That's actually when Nick Oliver came aboard as the new number 2, because then it was Raboyne who was following Motzko down to the U to be his on his staff for the Gophers. So you needed to fill a vacancy there, but you wanted to keep Gibbons around, especially then, because you had such a wagon assembled that you wanted to keep as much continuity as possible for that first year that Larson was the head coach. Here, those like dynamics of trying to keep a uber competitive team aboard, it's not really in play. But again, I wouldn't be opposed, especially to have like one of those two guys stick around, because that's kind of what they've done the last 2 hires that they've had to do. But having both of them, that does crimp, I think, the ability of the new head coach to bring in someone that he's, he would want. Like, he's been thinking about, what kind of a staff would I assemble once I get my head coaching job? I'm sure he's got a bunch of good connections and phone numbers that he would call right after he gets that he's named head coach. Well, if you're sort of tying his hands from doing that, I'm not a huge fan of that. I would be more open to it if it was just one of the two, but both. And two, with your like timeline scenario as well, just one final thing, sorry. Yeah, like when those contracts would expire is you'd think that those contracts would end, like anyone that's a college coach. Like, you'd think that whenever you're after the Frozen Four, why would they renew at March before right after regional weekend? The timing seems a little strange there. So again, maybe that's a rumor that it's just Sydney Wolf is the only source of that nugget that we've gotten. Who knows? But it would be unfortunate, I think, if that were to be the case. But in the other sense, at least that means probably that it's not going to be Enga or Rude. That was the one kind of benefit that I had, that neither of them are going to get the head coaching job, which is kind of our big fear when the Larson move was first announced. I can tolerate them much better as assistants than I would if they were the head coach. So I guess I'll try to look at it that way and be a little bit more positive.
Sure enough. So before we get over to the Herbies, I suppose what we got to do.
So we're talking about whiskey today.
Whiskey.
All right. We got the next whiskey. We only have about, I think, 2 left in this. 3 left here in this pack. And we're going to be at the good old US of A. So we're going out to Oregon.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. Andrew, you had a cup of tea there in Oregon for a little bit. So
does it say what city it's from?
No, it is a Westward American single malt whiskey.
Westward. I'm going to look it up. Keep going.
So that is what I got here. I kind of like the color of it. It's pretty nice. So let's go.
Portland, not shockingly.
Ah, that little city, that little nugget.
I did not live in Portland. I lived in Central Oregon. Portland's like 4-hour drive. I went there once. I went there for one weekend when I lived there.
How was it? How was your review?
Of Portland or
yes.
Oregon in general?
I'm going to guess the review was about 6.5.
Of Portland? Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's what their whiskey is. So 6.5 is what I'm giving it. I wouldn't turn it away, and I am not going to order it again. So
serviceable, but not special.
Exactly. So, and just one quick last transfer portal nugget that we did see Sydney Lamb, whose name will come up a little bit later in the show. Looks like she is heading to Clarkson out of the portal.
Oh, really? I missed that.
So it looks like, yep, she is heading east. So, I mean,
That
I
is
guess
interesting.
not in the WCHA, so I'm okay with it. But best of luck to her. I wish she was still in a Huskies uniform.
How do you feel about that? Because, again, this is my first reaction to it. I didn't see that yet. And I mentioned in the last show from Chicago, in Chicago area. So no, like, geographical hint, like some hometown team that she could land with. Those top end WCHA teams probably have a good set of D on their roster as well. I don't know, like Clarkson's been a good program, obviously, and I'm sure she's going to factor in well on that roster. But I don't know, that's a big culture change going from WCHA to ECAC. It's a big move. I wish she could come back. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. So it's it was kind of like okay, you're going to I guess a power in the East. You're definitely gonna get postseason hockey, which maybe you feel that is still a couple of years away here at St. Cloud State.
That's a good point.
So you want to get that right away, and probably get some Frozen Four action. I would say that'd be right in the mix of it. And
I mean, I wonder if she either got sniffs from the WCHA more upper echelon, or if that's kind of what she was targeting. But the same sense, like it's going to be just all different rinks, all different kind of rivalries that she's going to be playing in with the ECAC. But at the same time, as you kind of stated there, they kind of had a down year this year. Clarkson did. But that still was, hosting playoff series, and with the way the ECAC is kind of wide open right now, that could be a team that she probably has a better chance of making the NCAA tournament with Clarkson than St. Cloud State, who, they played Clarkson this year and played them pretty tough in that DC tournament. I don't think the gap between those teams is huge. But just like for St. Cloud to break through and to somehow get a NCAA tournament appearance, trying to break through the rest of the WCHA is going to be tougher than a team like Clarkson who can do that. You can rise in the ECAC standings a little easier than you can in the WCHA, I think.
Yeah.
So maybe that's the ultimate kind of factor for her, is maybe just the chance of playing on the biggest stage in the NCAA tournament is a little bit better with a program like Clarkson.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's the only thing I could think of. Maybe, you got a little wink, wink, nudge, nudge after the DC tournament and started talking to some of the Clarkson players, and shenanigans were afoot.
Any other movement from Huskies players in the portal?
Obviously, what I just said was a joke. I don't actually think there was any type of tampering going on. I didn't see much. Let's see. One that kind of was a little bit, Ella House from St. Thomas went over to Ohio State. Right. That was a little bit of a surprise, especially with, Riley Bartz, I thought was a lot more of a dynamic player, and is in the portal and is uncommitted as of right now. So, but I didn't see anything too much of like shocking movement or anything along those lines.
But and none of the other 8. What is it now that Lamb's out of the portal or found a landing spot? None of the other Huskies that were in the portal have found new teams.
Not yet.
Okay.
So. All right, so let's go ahead and let's get our black tie on. Let's get ready because we've got an awards show to do. What do you say?
Let's do it. It's that time.
The stars shine tonight over St. Cloud. It's time again for the Annual Herbie Awards, presented by the Huskies Hockey Podcast, honoring the very best in St. Cloud State Huskies hockey. Now, here are your hosts, Weldie and Andrew.
All right. Just so you know, we do have to pay Jason Bryant royalties every time that we use, but we do thank him for his not only his accomplishments on the Husky Hockey Podcast, as they are many, but lending his voice that we are definitely going to be reimbursing for in the future. So.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Remember the first year that we did this, it was not, we did not have the production value that Jason Bryant was able to single-handedly boost with his dulcet tones. So appreciate it.
Exactly. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get it started. And we are going to start with, let's go ahead and start with Rookie of the Year.
The Andreas Nodal Rookie of the Year.
Our nominees for Rookie of the Year: Noah Ernest, Nolan Rhodes, Sidney Lamb, Tanner Hendricks, and Maria McKaylin. And this actually turned out to be kind of one of the toughest categories that we have. And the Herbie for Rookie of the Year goes to Sidney Lamb. So congratulations. Yeah. That Clark, the newly Clarkson commit, Sidney Lamb, go ahead and wins Rookie of the Year. I personally was torn between her and Maria McKaylin, who is the obviously the dynamic, kind of forward presence that the Huskies haven't had in quite a long time as a rookie coming up. And I was kind of going back and forth between those two for Rookie of the Year, and that's I voted with Sidney Lamb. The fans, 29% voted Sidney Lamb. And Andrew, you want to reveal your vote?
I did go with McKaylin. I think this was the toughest category. Rode and Ernest kind of cancel each other out on the same line.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, really promising players. We were just heaping praise over them, especially the last month or so of the season. Hendricks might be the most talented of all 5 of these, but abbreviated season. dozen games or so. I mean, it's difficult to give him the award, especially when we've got 4 other really good candidates. I obviously like Lamb. Between Lamb and McKillian, again, it's kind of what's your flavor, forward or defense.
Mm-hmm.
And Lamb was a player that, especially in the second half, may have been one of the more valuable players just all around for the Huskies. I just did like the kind of sniper-esque talent and force that McKillian brings to this team, which is different. The different look, even like the more high-end offensive players have had, kind of like Gentry in the past, much different profile than McKillian, who's kind of a pure like scorer type. And that's just exciting to me. And I think just her like highlight reel moments, I'll concede. I think that Lamb has probably had the better all around, or let's say more valuable for the Huskies this year, which is because he played just a more valuable position, I think, for this team. But McKillian, I thought, had the best flashes of brilliance among the rookies. So, and she was consistent, I thought, throughout the season. But you could say the same thing about Lamb. I'm not really disagreeing too hard because it would have been between McKillian and Lamb. So it's fitting that that's how the fans and you also voted on this one.
Yeah. And kind of the big thing was, and I know we can always take plus minus with a grain of salt or two, but I mean, ends up leading the team as a freshman D in the WCHA plus minus with a +5. And that includes, some nightmare games as well that happened. And yeah, this was a higher scoring team, sure, but it wasn't a, we're not the Canadians of old, but 6 goals, 9 assists for 15 points for a freshman blue liner in the WCHA +5. I would take that. I do love McKillin's upside though. And it does give that dynamic, that pure goal scoring aspect that I'm really excited to see kind of going forward for the women.
We brought it up. We brought it up with her in contrast to like a Sunderland or Soriel, who they had good seasons this year, points wise, put up the best point totals for any St. Cloud player. The best point total is about 10 years in Sunderland's case, or excuse me, Soriel, who led the team with 29 points, haven't had a 30-point score since 2016. But the knock, I think, on those two players is that their performance, you look at their game log, Soriel in particular kind of packs her points against the bottom half of the WCHA and noticeably struggles against the top end teams. McKillian, you look at her game log, she had a 2-goal game against Wisconsin. I mean, she delivers. She was a little bit more consistent in terms of like she wasn't off the score sheet in those games against the true powers of the WCHA. And so I like that going forward, is that it's not, and maybe it's because opponents are more focusing on that Sunderland Soriel pairing, McKillian being kind of a freshman unknown quantity. Maybe they'll catch on as she continues to develop. But that was one thing that stuck out to me throughout the years, that some of her best games were against the best competition, which is for a freshman, that's not something you see every day.
Exactly. So, all right, next category. Let's go here.
The Chuck Clausen Moment of the Year.
Moment of the year.
You're front loading what I thought were the two most difficult spots. So this is good. This is good.
Well, I figure we do this and then we can kind of breeze through some of the ones that I felt like were clean sweeps.
Yeah.
Moment of the year. We had St. Cloud's women's playoff victory at Ritter, which was the women's first playoff victory in 15 years, where they won the game. Men's Cactus Cup champion, men's comeback versus Denver, and JoJo Choback breaking the shutout record versus Bemidji. I did get a little bit of flack in the Facebook group for not including the Arizona State victory for the sweep, that where we had come back for Arizona State, and was that Tyson Gross shorthanded goal for the game winner. So I did get a little bit of flack for that, and maybe I could have adjusted that, but ended up not including that. So I apologize for those snubs, but it wouldn't be an awards show without some snubs. So I think actually it tells you it's a good awards show, right?
If it gets people talking,
yeah,
we struggled to get to field nominees in this category. Maybe we can do a version of like the Google Sheet, like fielding nominees, especially for like the more offbeat categories, goal of the year, moment of the year. The ones that don't necessarily involve like a specific player. Because I struggled to think about certain nominees or certain moments. But that's definitely a good one. I was in the building for that.
Well, and the winner of the Chuck Clausen Moment of the Year is SCSU Women's Playoff Victory at Ritter Arena, which is back-to-back, 2-time now, as they won last year for their first win at Ritter Arena. Now this is their first playoff win and playoff victory in 15 years. So it's good to get that monkey off the back. And, some things were a little bit of a step backwards this season for the women with the new coach, with Adulski's hiring late or just before the season, late in the off season. But to get something positive there that Adulski wasn't able to accomplish and that St. Cloud wasn't able to accomplish in a long time. It was good to see that. So that also was a 2-1 vote, myself and the fans. The fans was 63.3% of the vote. And Andrew, you were the defactor on that one.
Well, yeah, it was another difficult category for me to pick a winner. So I went with the Denver comeback, or the comeback win against Denver. I think just from maybe what defines moment of the year. There's a philosophical debate about what the category what it means or what's the intention of it. Maybe just like for the most impact that it had on the Huskies. Because I just remember watching that game, and if you remember, they got absolutely destroyed the night before and embarrassed. That Showstack got pulled in the first 10 minutes. And that was, I think, 7 out of 8 losses at that point. Then they go down quickly, another deficit against Denver. And that was the first half of the year. That was the last game of the first half. So you lose that game, you're limping into the Christmas break at a prolonged, not losing streak. But we were thinking, is it November? Like, we're trying to think about things that rhymed with funk or junk in November or December terms, because that's kind of what it was feeling. But that kind of comeback win, I think, really righted the ship. And if they didn't, I remember thinking, like, if they lose that game, we're probably in a dogfight to avoid last place. That's kind of how it was looking at that point. But that really kind of, I thought, rescued the season from like going down very early. And with Gross kind of being the star of that comeback, and we're going to mention his name a couple more times. Spoiler alert. It was another kind of big Tyson Gross moment. If you're talking about that Arizona State win as well, that may be snubbed in this category. Another big Tyson Gross performance. So maybe there is the theme there for you. But I picked the Denver comeback, even though I don't think. This was a difficult year for coming up with like signature moments, just because both of these teams struggled more than succeeded based on the records alone. But that was a big win at Ritter, and I was watching it on my phone out of town, but did a fist pump in the restaurant that I was eating at, and it was a big win.
What type of restaurant was it?
Twin
Peaks.
Yeah.
Tilted Kilt.
Yep. It's exactly that. Yep.
So, or a nice Chinese restaurant.
Nope. It was the Tilted Kilt.
Okay.
You nailed it.
Yep. There we go. Perfect. All right. Next category.
The Aaron Brocklehorst Goal of the Year.
Oh, I just love the Brocklehorst bit. Just one of my favorites.
The longer we do the show, the greater the percentage of our audience has no idea what that means. They have no idea that that's not actually his name, and they don't get the reference of why we continue to use it.
They don't get the name, they don't get the reference, and we talk about who it was, and they're like, "Who is that?" And it's what's MSC, and then it's just it all, and then we get all boomer about it. We talk about back in my day. So. Aaron Brocklehorst, goal of the year. Nominees were Tanner Hendricks versus Colorado College, Gavin Thorson, shorthanded versus Miami, Barrett Hall, shorthanded versus North Dakota, Maria McCallan versus Wisconsin, and Sophiana Sunderland versus Minnesota State and Mankato. And in a clean sweep, to nobody's surprised, also with 63.8% of the vote, is Barrett Hall, shorthanded, a goal against North Dakota.
And again, this is our fourth Herbies. I had to check that because for some reason I thought this would have been our third, but this has been our fourth. The other goals of the year, we had Grant Deshawn last year, and that was he tried the breakaway.
He tried the breakaway. Right? Yep.
And then missed the first night, and then Saturday.
Don't think he got a shot off.
But he tried the same exact move.
Yep.
And he was able to succeed. So that was kind of like a twofer. Like he needed the setup in order to get the payoff. And then we had Avery Myers in 2024. I think that was against St. Thomas, right? I'm sure the TikTok vote really came in late for Myers on that one.
Yeah. I remember because we had a debate on that one because it was which was the sexier move, Avery Myers, because that move she slipped at 5-hole, and Joey Molinar, it was pretty much the same goal and roofed it top shelf.
I think I voted for that. If my memory,
and you voted for that one,
correct?
Yep. And then we had that conversation is like they're because they were very similar, just the finishes were different. And you like the 5-hole or you like the top shelf?
And then we had Okabe in 23. That was the overtime winner against North Dakota. Now, my question is, the Okabe goal, I forgot the Myers goal. When you described it here, then it kind of rang a bell. But I need to kind of be reminded about that. And I kind of needed to be reminded about the Ashan goal as well, or at least just the specifics of how that happened. So
sure.
Between these winners that we've had for goal of the year, between Hall and Okabe, I think Hall's the best of the four, just in terms of the pure skill. The Okabe goal meant more because that knocked out North Dakota, and it sent it won a playoff game. And NCHC got you into the NCHC title game. So the effect of that goal was much bigger. This one, the Hall goal, also coming against North Dakota, but regular season game, a game that they ended up losing. So the effect of that wasn't as big. But just from a pure talent standpoint, I think this is the best goal of the year that we've had so far. Do you agree or not?
Yeah, I agree. Also with the Okabe goal, I think it was Cranola on the assist. I mean, it was
that's right.
So, I mean, that was a whole team and it was a whole play kind of effort that kind of led up to that one. And also you had the ref cam too, which I think also added a little bit of sizzle. I got to have some good footage of that. So, Avery Myers, because I think she had, I mean, you can probably count how many career goals she had at St. Cloud State on one hand. And then for her to kind of pull out that move was, it was kind of like that shock factor. I was like, whew, there we go. And then, I mean, she was able to do that quite a bit also in the shootout. She was kind of our little ace in the hole when it comes to a shootout kind of surprise that Adalski put out there. Ashan, I remember I did not vote for Ashan. And I think I can't remember the other
either.
Other nominations, and I probably, if I was better at my job and had better prep, I would go back and look for that. But I think it was the fan vote that kind of carried that one because they liked the redemption and that arc, which was kind of funny. But I kind of put that in as maybe a little bit of a joke because the year before was the 180 footer that we put in there from, was it Bushy?
Bushy.
I think against Colorado College.
Maybe that was the first year, because remember then we had the joke one, which I almost like more. It's like fine wine; it grows, it gets better with age. The one, was it Werner Miettinen? The one that they waived off.
Oh, that's right, they waived
Western
off.
Michigan,
yes.
But it clearly was a goal. And there's this whole debate about, is it over the line? But he the Western Michigan, who would have been that goalie? Not Bussy. Rowe, I think it was Cameron Rowe, but he caught it clearly over the goal line, but they couldn't count it because they couldn't see the puck cross the line. And we had that long debate. I almost like that one more now than I even did then. Like, I almost would have voted for it. But so we like to throw in kind of a funny one. We didn't have to do that this year, but we do kind of like to throw in a curveball every now and then.
Yeah, I was kind of able to go back and see the nominees for the last year that ended up being Grant Deshawn being the winner. It was Austin Bernovic down low against Miami. That was kind of actually the similar play to Barrett Hall.
I think I remember that one.
Although it wasn't shorthanded, I think it was. But it was able to kind of go below the goal line and then kind of bring it back
like
and
a stick handle.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then it was Tyson Gross down low against Omaha, where he did kind of a little bit of a shimmy and was able to get, I believe Lacozzi was in net, him out of position. That's down right. And out. And that one was on the power play. And then the late third period goal against Minnesota, that was a Soriel over to Sunderland. That feed, with 3 minutes left to end up getting a 3-2 lead late in the game there against Minnesota. So, and was able to put it past Clark. So those were the 3 nominees that year.
I can't remember which one I would have voted for. That might have been one where I picked something, you picked something different, and the fan vote was something different. And I don't know how clearly, Ashan, maybe we just went with the fans in that case.
Yep. The fan is the tiebreaker. So if all 3 of us are split decisions, then the fan gets it, and the fan voted for the Ashan goal.
It's always a fun category because at least we have some visual evidence for those. I like that. You do a good job with assembling those.
Thank you.
Those reels. So,
and I couldn't pick a Bernovic one-timer, so I put them all on the YouTube channel too. So perfect. I just, plastered them all in there because I figured, how do you choose between your favorite one-timer, right?
Let's hope that keeps him in town for another season.
Yeah, exactly.
Your dedication to your video editing chops.
Yep, exactly. So, all right, I'll head over to the next category. Let's go to
the Drew LeBlanc Forward of the Year.
Nominees for Forward of the Year are Tyson Gross, Austin Bernovic, Sofiana Sunderland, and Alice Soriel. And 70% of the vote, including 2 members of the Huskies Hockey Podcast, it goes to Tyson Gross.
No real surprise there. I did see that maybe I think I checked a couple of days ago. He might have gotten into a game. He's been in 2 games the last time I checked for Calgary. So one other game than that was at Tampa that he debuted against. But I think just one other game since then. Again, that couple of days ago when I checked. I don't know if you have a better NHL update.
I do not. I actually have not been able to check at all.
I did see that he got in one other game, and he played like 12 minutes, so it wasn't just like a shift or 2.
Perfect. There we go. But I don't think that, not really a surprise.
No.
Gross was a force all year. Hell of a player to watch, and now that he's getting some action in the NHL, that's no surprise. So congratulations, Tyson Gross, on Forward of the Year.
And we might be hearing that name yet again before the end of the awards. Just again, that's what we call a tease.
That's a tease. All right, next category. And the defensive player of the year. Nominees go to we had Tanner Hendricks, Sydney Lamb, and Grace Wolf. And here we had a little bit of a split decision, and I waxed poetic earlier about Sydney Lamb. That got my vote, but the Andrew and the fans both went with Grace Wolf, 39.7% of the vote, 31.7% for Sydney Lamb, and 28.6% for Tanner Hendricks. And I think hindered again by not having a full season there, but Grace Wolf ends up being the defender of the year, caps off a great career there with the Huskies as well. So going out on a high note.
Yeah, I wonder if we have a full season of Hendricks, how this voting would have shaken out, because I think, like I said about the rookies, just pure talent wise, he might be the best of the bunch of the nominees here, but difficult to give him the award over a couple of other and with the men's team too, just the struggles of the other defensemen. Difficult to give it to even give it a nomination to any of the other men's D.
Andrew wasn't going to give a nomination to Zinger. It's pretty much.
I don't think so. But I went with Wolf. I thought, for as much as Lamb was impressive as a freshman, and you got your plus minus category in your favor, I do think that Wolf was on the whole a little bit more impressive this year, just more impactful. Just leads the team in points from the point. And as a captain, I think those kind of intangibles play into it as well. Maybe it is somewhat of a Pacino here in that we're giving a tip of the cap for a long career. 4+ years, right? Because she had the medical red shirt. So like 4
years and 11 games.
There you go. And so there's a bit of a careerism maybe that I'm displaying with that vote over Lamb. And maybe the fact that Lamb's actually no longer a Husky. I know that Wolf is no longer as well, but the exit was a little bit more graceful with Grace Wolf. That's fitting.
Graceful. There we go.
I didn't even try to do that, but it's just how good I am. But yeah, I was glad to give it to Wolf, although I certainly all three of these candidates are worthy. But I went with Wolf, and it looks like most of the voters agreed with me, so I'll take it, and Grace Wolf will take it.
Back-to-back female winners of the award, with Dale Ross winning last year, and then
that's a good one.
Dylan Anhorn actually won it the first 2 years for the Huskies. So it has kind of also shows, for Dylan Anhorn how much of an impact that he made in his real short time that he had here. But congratulations, Grace Wolf. Really enjoyed watching you play. And congratulations to whatever she has going on next. So,
indeed.
Let's flip over to the next one.
The Jace Weslowski Goaltender of the Year, presented by Xbox.
That's another reference that none of you teenagers will get. But
first off, they're gonna listen to that soundtrack and it's like, what video? Like, what is that even from? Why is that different? That's so weird. Because I don't know how much Halo is a thing anymore. So,
well, it still lives on, at least in this award, and
exactly
Weslowski's probably just in the legacy of Weslowski. It'll never die.
Yep. Nominees for Goaltender of the Year: Amelia Kriko, Jan Shostak, and Patrick Berzins. Clean sweep again. All three picking 60% of the vote as well. Amelia Kriko. So congratulations to our Olympian Kriko for being the Goaltender of the Year.
And also had some injury concerns of her own this year, so she missed month or 6 weeks or so in the first part of the year. So, I mean, just 18 games for her. Chobak appeared in more games than Kirko. We're need to get a firm handle on the pronunciation before next year.
I think we can go back to the Olympics. I think they had like actual players.
Well, and that's kind of when St. Cloud, after she returned from the Olympics, is when the St. Cloud line chart had the different pronunciation on there. So I'm wondering if maybe that's where they got the idea that they had been saying it wrong this whole time. However you say it, she was definitely deserving of the award, even with less than 50% of the duty in net this year. And yeah, we're waiting to see her now with Chobak graduated. And we even saw Hugendam in the portal. I mean, they're going to bring someone in either from the recruiting side. I think that you did say that we got one coming in next year, or at least targeted to come in next year. Someone in the pipeline. I'm not sure if they're going to be in the fall or not, but would expect at least a goalie in the portal as well. But this figures to be all Kiriko's net next year. So, or at least like the bulk of the work. And that's going to be something that she hasn't had to shoulder yet. But I'm excited to see that kind of increased workload play out over a full season where she's playing, that kind of percentage of games. Because in her first 2 years of basically splitting duty, liked a lot of what we saw. So excited for her in the future. And again, from the men's side, like, again, both of those, like Shostak, Bursins, they both had their moments, but kind of canceled each other out. No, none of them really emerged as the true number one. Looks like Shostak kind of did, but his overall numbers really weren't that impressive. Put it all together, the body of work. So we're looking forward to their contributions next year. I think they'll both be improved, or at least they should be. But I think just among these three, I think everybody was aligned correctly on this one. Mm-hmm. So seems like how everyone was thinking on this one. So congratulations to Amelia Kiriko, and we will get that name down. Trust me.
Yep. Yeah, I believe Elite Prospects has Alexis Ehrman coming in next year. Now, I do take the timeline for Elite Prospects with a little bit of grain of salt. She is 17 coming in, but obviously there is a lot more fluidity when it comes to who's coming in on the men's side because of the different leagues you can go into for development and whatnot. Still lacking that on the women's side. So it's probably a little bit more known that she's going to be coming in. And that's why Hugendam's in the portal, because she didn't want to play third fiddle again, because you want to give a new recruit some looks as well. So that's kind of what I think. But
yeah, or even if Hugendam could have been slotted in as number two, like what we're talking about with Kiriko, if she's going to get 25 starts next year, and Hugendam as a number two might go for like 7 to 10 appearances, she might think I can go to Newha or somewhere out east that's going to give me Lindenwood, let's say, can give me 20 starts instead. So it might not have just been that she was pushed out for another number two, but that she just wants more playing time. Period.
Makes sense.
We'll see. And she might have known too who's coming in, and that could have helped dictate her decision as well. So we'll keep an eye on that. But at least if we think that if Kiriko can stay healthy, I'd love to see those numbers kind of stretched out over a full, let's say, 25 game workload, because I think that's going to keep the Huskies in a lot of games. And looking forward to seeing that play out.
Yep, exactly. And she was just dynamic back there, and you really felt that when she wasn't on the ice. And kind of a bummer end to Chobak's career as well, with some of the struggles that she had between the pipes. But she was far and away the best chance to win the game was with her in net. I think also Bursins and Shostak might have split the vote a little bit. Both had flashes. Both looked chaotic at other times. So, looking at just raw numbers, for what you see, it is it was Grieco going to be pretty easy choice far and away.
Agreed on that.
So, all right, let's go to we got two. Looks like we have two categories left. So here is the next one.
It's the Lowell Sun Sports Memorial Foot in Mouth Award.
Always love this one.
This one, it wasn't like 4 weeks ago or so. We were kind of brainstorming about, what are we going to do with this category, the nominees and everything. And then we were like, you know what? It's something can usually kind of bubble up come tournament time. We had one that I thought was pretty good. And then we had just a buzzer beater here, and just right at the end, probably some of the most asinine takes that I've heard in a long time. I think this rivals the asinine of Chip. It's
previous winner in this category.
Previous winner of Woden really pumping his Chip. Chip
and again,
stat that he made up.
Foot and mouth. It maybe is a spiritual cousin to K-Fan's Preposterous Statement tournament that they do every year. Those are more quick soundbite kind of things. Foot and mouth, really, it originated from the Lowell Sun, obviously, back in 2015. Article lamenting that Lowell, that the computer didn't like Lowell, and how a team like St. Cloud State with a record barely over 500 was going to get into the tournament above Lowell, played a much easier schedule, and thus had a lot more flashier, a better win-loss record. But that was in a full article form, and several instances of just doubling and tripling down on a flimsy, erroneous premise. And Chris Mayotte really demonstrated that in 2024. This award didn't exist in the first year of the Herbies. Mayotte's 6 minute, I think.
It was
clip.
about 6 minutes long.
Again, talking about pairwise, and maybe that's kind of why we tied it into the Lowell Sun Sports, or had that be the name of the award, because it was kind of born in bad takes based on pairwise. Last year, Woden won that through several articles, and the entire season was kind of he was on a chip project.
And the changing of the formula because he didn't like the results of it.
Yeah, it was always in beta mode, but yet, whenever anyone asked him what that formula was, he wouldn't divulge it. But yet, you've really got to take it seriously. We're not even the ones, like, I see that there's a BU guy that keeps bugging him about the Hobey tracker, which is kind of basically a chip. It's basically based on chip, and Woden's not a fan of that guy. So it continues to baffle people. And that one was an award that was won over several installations. And again, doubling down on that. And this year was difficult. We didn't have something that immediately sprung to mind. We had a couple. I thought the NCHC's all like rebranding with his national thing. I thought that was kind of interesting, but it didn't really click. There was something missing about it, and that was 6 months ago at this point. Is it really top of mind? We did, as you said, we got a late competitor who just kind of pushed everybody else aside. All the other candidates were just elbowed aside, and we've got the Duke of college hockey media, John Buccigross, enters the chat.
And I'm sure
leaves all the competitors in the dust.
Yeah, and I'm sure everyone has seen this clip or have heard about this clip or heard reactions to it. But in honor of this award and the foot and mouth and the doubling down and everything that it encompasses, we will play the clip in the entirety here. So
about 2 minutes.
Yeah, about 2 minutes here of John Buchergas talking about how he would fix college hockey.
Save college hockey.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's right. Not even fix it because it needs saving right now. Yes.
And this is how we're going to save it.
This is how we're going to save it. So here we go.
What they could do is, in what, there's been whispers of, is just breaking away from the NCAA. Just start your own federation.
There's been rumblings about this, like where essentially they would create like a Premier League.
Yeah, and hockey is the one sport probably and all sports have talked about this at the college level. Even football has, right? Get their own TV contract. That'd be not a problem at all. But, there's been talk about maybe doing that with college hockey. And do you break it up into tiers? You have 3 divisions. I mean, let's face it, these teams in Atlantic hockey are not going to ever win the national championship. Now, it's fun to aspire to a D1 scholarship and, occasionally play a Boston College, a North Dakota, a Denver, and compete against those guys. But wouldn't it be cool if they could compete for their own championship, whether it's 20 teams in each division or each tier, if you do it that way, and get separate TV contracts, and the big boys can get a TV contract, and maybe try to grow the game that way and have more games on prime time, get these big dogs together every week playing big games and have a Monday night hockey, whatever you do. Ultimately, then they can do whatever they want in all kinds of situations if they break away and hire a commissioner, because it is becoming a strong league with the Canadian juniors coming down. These 20-year-old kids are really good players.
Really good.
They've really brought depth.
Yeah.
This Caswell kid in Denver, I think he played for Swift Current for 4 years, was their MVP. He's a 20-year-old freshman. Man, that guy can play. He is really good.
I think it's just as competitive as the American Hockey League with the fact that these guys can come over, the top-end junior guys, after, preparing and marinating for 4 years. It's the perfect path to development. Now, that same guy we were talking to, as you just mentioned, like you talked about the tiers, there should be a relegation system, maybe the bottom 4 teams. Now, how big would you keep tier 1? Like, are you talking 20 teams, 25, 30? Like, how big would that top tier be?
Yeah, you could probably go 30. You could probably do 2, actually. I don't know about relegation, how that works. I'd have to see that working, but I'm all for trying.
I think if you make the Frozen 4 of maybe like the second tier, it would bump out the bottom 4. That's why I said British Premier League. Like, that's such a fun system because like even all the way to the end of the year, you have something to root for.
Like, there's so much in that, so much foot and mouth that. So is he saying the Frozen 4 then would be in the second division to play into the first?
I don't know.
one?
Do we give Bissonnette half credit for this? Do we put his name on the award too? Because he was chiming in with some inane comments himself.
Yeah.
It's a combo award here.
Obviously, everything is I think it encompasses foot and mouth so well. I don't know where to start with breaking it all down. I don't know that college hockey needs saving. But I would like to see some tweaks for it as well. But I like splitting it up into 2 divisions. Are you saying like maybe like a Division 1 and a Division 3? Yeah, we can, which is something we
already.
So,
and then
the big boy contracts and all of that. And it's like, well, we do have those conferences. And guess what? You want to talk about those Atlantic hockey teams playing the big boys. You look at Penn State's schedule year in and year out. They've got that. So it doesn't make any sense, anything he was spewing. And for Buchergas to say that he is, the ESPN forefront, and I was actually starting to warm up to Buchergas, at least as a play-by-play guy. I thought he's been light years better than what he was. But then he comes out with this type of talking point, and it doesn't make any type of sense what he was spewing.
I wanted, because I'm not a listener of the Splittin' Chitlins podcast or whatever that this was made on. It's one of my favorite barbecue podcasts, actually, Splittin' Chitlins. But I wanted to listen to more, because even that clip makes it seem like it was edited and there was more to this discussion. And I kind of wanted to hear more of it, which is, again, that's the trademark of a great foot and mouth. If you're wanting, go on, please. The runway's all yours. because you're on such a roll right now. Yeah, I don't fixing the sport. There's ways to fix it, not blowing it up. This would kind of blow it up upon any recognizable form that we have it right now. I've heard this idea of like the big boys, the Big Ten, splitting away from the NCAA and making their own rules. But I've always heard that in terms of that's like the doomsday scenario. I haven't really heard, especially a hockey personality, kind of bring that up as some sort of like a good thing. And that would basically spell the end of what we think of as college hockey. So it's just it's funny, like all like a lot of the like, oh, the Atlantic teams would really love to play the BC, that get that opportunity. We've seen those or heard those kind of comments over the years, just patting those teams on the head. He would do like the regionals. Did he do last year's, the one with Bentley in it? Like, I can't imagine if you're like an Atlantic hockey coach and team, if you get Buccigross to do your regional, why would you do interviews with him if he knows that he's just there to humor you? Oh, such a cute story that you're here. He might be true about the fact that they don't legitimately have a chance to win a national title, but that the inclusion of those kind of teams and the other teams like St. Cloud, the D2 or D3 teams that play up into D1 hockey, that's kind of what makes the sport unique and what's kind of makes it special for fans like us who've been going back decades with this sport. The unique kind of nature, but they're how very few, the grand majority of the teams aren't the Power 5 school teams. But he's kind of seems to invert it on its head. Terrible ideas. And for a guy who kind of makes a big stink about how he loves college hockey, and to some extent that's a good thing. But this sort of, I don't know, torpedoed a lot of that goodwill, I thought, in humorous ways. And at least I don't think that these ideas, certainly they're not like ideas that are going to be implemented anytime soon. And if they do get implemented, we should be very concerned. But yeah, in terms of wanting more and continuing to dig a hole for himself, this one was a worthy champion. So congrats. And again, I'm going to put it down as Bissonnette, Buccigross / Bissonnette, because they were both sort of going back and forth here with some insane ideas.
Yeah. And it, a lot of also the Atlantic hockey, they're not going to win a championship. A lot of that is kind of their own doing by their limitations that they have for like, scholarships and things along those lines. So it's like, yeah, I mean, to have that as your talking point in, instances where we've had so many of the, underdogs or, teams that you wouldn't necessarily say are your predominant winners. Now, obviously this year is a little bit different because the top 4 national championship titles holders are in the Frozen Four, but before that you've had first time winners for Western Michigan, Quinnipiac, you had Union, you had Yale, you can go back, sure, but Minnesota Duluth, it's these small schools that are winning is kind of what makes it unique and kind of great when it comes to it, and have others, like St. Cloud and Mankato in the title game. I mean, it's so cool to have that type of aspect when it comes to it, and to just say that, no, we should only cater towards the top 20 and 30 programs, to get TV contracts and everything along. It's just absolutely asinine. So it's a good winner.
This Premier League thing, this has become like a meme, kind of like what sport should do this, where it's like relegation style. It's very difficult to do that at something that's not a professional sport.
Yes.
It just doesn't seem feasible. You could also think, though, that they didn't do the right relegation style, but the Minnesota State high school tournament in the early 90s did the two-tier system instead of classes, where they split them up by performance. And I think it was at the end of the season, they would just split the standings up, and you're in tier 2 and the better teams are in tier 1. So that was like 1 year Rosemount made it in the tier 2. They made that state tournament they had won 4 games that year. And then they made it to the title game of the tier 2 championship. They did something like that, where it was not based on enrollment, but it was based on quality of your record, essentially. But it wasn't like preset as the season started. It was basically by the end of the regular season, then you're split up into 2 tiers. Everybody hated that. They did that for 2 years, I think. Everybody hated that, and they ditched that. So this like system of tiered teams based on performance. And again, you're not like having like you can play up into the tier 1 the next year. That obviously wasn't a part of it, but it's been tried in one somewhat similar sense to not good fanfare. It was not received well by the hockey fans in the state of Minnesota. So there's that whole relegation thing is a pipe dream that will never happen. And what you're doing with just it does worry me if the NCAA were to reopen D2, or at least reopen a D2 championship, because we saw AIC dropping down to D2. There's like 10 or 12 teams that play D2, and I'm using scare quotes because they mostly play D3 teams, but then with D2 you can have more scholarships available. There is a difference between D2 and D3, but you're not playing for a championship. Like those D2 teams can't play for the D3 championship, even though they're playing most of their games against D3 teams. But if there's enough programs that bail from D1 that go back to that do what AIC did, that maybe that builds up D2. And then if D2, if they reopen a national championship, do a lot of these struggling D1 teams say jump ship from D1 and go back to D2, that would be a massive change, and not one for the better. So yeah, there's situations that are similar to what they're proposing that would be catastrophic for the sport, and they're kind of bringing it up as like, ooh, that would be interesting. So not their best work, but worthy at least of an award on this show.
Yeah, and like so much can change year to year. So having a promotion relegation in something where you're limited to 4 years of eligibility for players is absolutely ridiculous. And not to mention that, you can transfer out if you get relegated. Like there's so many of those little instances that's just like,
do conferences still exist? Like, so did the NCHC would like Miami be in the tier 2, but they'd still be in the NCAA? Like, how does any of that work? If you're in tier 1 and you're playing a team from tier 2, does that count towards your pairwise or NPI? If they, like, you go that, like, you think any other question that is like prompted by this dumb idea, any other like avenue you go, it just gets more like the onion peels more, and you're just like, this is such a dumb idea, but doesn't stop some people.
Yeah, the BUs and the BCs, and I was like, then they did so well in the tournament this year. So it's just asinine take, and definitely worthy of this award. And we're not the only ones dunking on it, but definitely the Foot and Mouth Award goes to Butcher Gross, with an honorable mention to Biz Nasty for that one.
Well earned.
Indeed. So, all right, now the moment everyone is waiting for.
Finger steps up his bat. He hit Oscar Moeller. And now Armstrong has grabbed Jeff Finger.
The Jeff Finger Memorial, Most Valuable Player.
If Jeff Finger isn't going to be the head coach for the Huskies next year, he still lives on as the MVP, the namesake for the MVP for the Jeff Finger Memorial. Most valuable player.
Yes, Memorial MVP award. Jeff Finger, though, as we know, and knock on wood, alive and well.
Yes,
but it's another it's just it gives more gravitas to the award. So this one's the big kahuna. This is like our best picture.
Exactly.
Who we got for nominees?
Nominees this year are Tyson Gross, Austin Bernovic, Sofiana Sunderland, and Alice Soriel. And by a 3-0 unanimous decision account, the winner is Tyson Gross. I know it's a big shock to everyone. 78.3% of the vote as well for the fans, but it was, far and away. I thought just night in, night out, your best player, and Tyson Gross, hell of a season. 3-year career here with the Huskies, and obviously the wins losses record, not what he wanted, but overall he racked up some Herbies in the past as well as a former rookie of the year. So but good on him, and congratulations to Tyson Gross, which is probably his biggest accomplishment of the year, was this award, and definitely not playing in the NHL right now.
I think that's right. Yeah, most 41 points on the season. That's the most for any Huskies since 2019. And a couple of guys had more than that. Lizotte and Newell. Robbie Jackson had 40 that year as well. Cranola had 40 in 22-23 when he won the MVP, the Herbie for MVP. And so this would be our in the era of the Herbies. Gross had the most points for any Husky. So yeah, this was a season, a very special season for Gross. And we had seen some definite good signs from Gross. I mean, he was our rookie of the year in 2024 at the Herbies. So this is not the two that he picked up tonight, not his first hardware he's gotten from this prestigious award ceremony. But the forward of the year and MVP, the two best pieces of that specific hardware. But this is a player that, since he stepped on campus at St. Cloud, was someone that we took notice of. And this might not be, his 3 years here coincides with the first 3-year drought of an NCAA tournament appearance for this program in a long time, 20 years, basically. So his time here is not going to be memorable in that sense, in terms of we don't have a Tyson Gross in the NCAA tournament memory, which is unfortunate, because I think his career was definitely deserving of one. But notwithstanding, he's still, especially this year, we're talking about even like the Arizona State series, about that could have been a definite nominee, maybe a snub of a moment of the year. But the other, best kind of moments of this season, if you want to pick any of the ones that were actually nominated, or just any off the top of your head, typically we're talking about the men's season this year. Gross was a part of those. And this was an impressive year, and one that we kind of figured pretty early as he was compiling the season that probably, you need to enjoy this one, because it's probably not going to be, he's not going to be long for St. Cloud. He's kind of playing himself out of this level of competition. That's a good thing. And especially excited to see him make his debut in the NHL level, and how long that sticks around. It seems like wherever he's going to land, he's going to be playing professional hockey here for a while, wherever that may be. And just best wishes to him as he continues on his hockey journey. And just always like to see those former Huskies play, especially in the NHL, because you can kind of live vicariously through them, and always kind of keep those Husky memories top of mind with those kind of players. So well deserved, and the two awards here being so convincing, gets both our votes, and as well as the overwhelming fan vote. That's it's telling you how much of a fan favorite he was. And like I said, sad to see him no longer in Cardinal and Black, but it's one of those ones where I get it. He proved that he had mastered this league, or this level. So best of wishes to Tyson Gross.
Yep. In games that you don't play against the Wild. So that's kind of want to put that caveat in there as well. So All right. So that concludes the Herbies. Thank you everybody for listening and tuning in. Obviously, Jason Bryant for a lot of the sound bites, and I want to thank you for everything that you do for not only St. Cloud State, but obviously for the podcast and the checks in the mail. You'll get that. It's posted. Just wait a little bit to cash it, but you know the routine at this point, so we appreciate it.
You get all the residuals, and we had the unfortunate news of Gritty St. Cloud being.
That was a tough one.
And now, are you going to make it to that last tour?
I'll make sure to make it.
I hope you will.
We'll get all the hot spots on the Gritty, the Golf and Bargain Center, and the junkyard
centers. Yep. Those are the best ones.
So
maybe those residuals aren't coming in at the same speed as we once did, because we lost a good sponsor. But do know that you're
Grant Aid back on the phone.
I should. Yeah, I've been slacking at that, and maybe it's I've almost got to fall on a sword there, because Gritty St. Cloud's closure. I mean, that part of that's on me.
No,
because I wasn't.
You can't do that. You can't blame yourself. No,
I know.
That's on Gritty to show the best that the Gritty side of St. Cloud has to offer. So
that's right. But it's just it's still sad, teardrop. But that was some sad news. But yes, we appreciate Jason Bryant's work in helping to get this show to the point that it's at. And obviously thank all the listeners, not only for listening throughout the season, but casting your votes for these awards. Again, maybe next year we'll throw out the nominees, get some like a Google form for potential nominees. Cause Arizona State won that. We definitely could have been part of the nomination. So don't want to slight any good worthy nominees. So maybe we'll, the show's always, the first year we didn't even consider the women's team, because we weren't really even covering the women's team by that point. So it's the show and the awards have always kind of been evolving.
Yep, ever evolving.
Foot and mouth started the second year. So any suggestions you may have to improving, or like you got in like a great new category maybe that you think that would add to the show, just let us know.
So this weekend we've got a couple of hockey games going on, and so you want to do a couple predictions about who's going to take the championship, who's going to win Hobey, will we have a coach, where do you want to go?
Sure. Why don't we do Frozen 4 picks first? So we got 3 games, so I guess we'll pick the games. Wisconsin, North Dakota, which I think is the early game on Thursday. Yep. And then we've got Denver and Michigan. And again, I will be in the building. Looking forward to it, even though I don't really care for any of these teams. My rooting interest, I think we touched on this a little last week. I suppose we got to be rooting for Wisconsin, right? Not only would that mean they would be beating North Dakota, which is always a plus, whoever eliminates North Dakota. But if Oliver was the guy that St. Cloud's going to hire, having him be an assistant on a national title winning team, that adds something to his resume that's not there currently. So maybe like that you think would elevate his recruiting pitch, or his pitch to Austin Bernabik and Tano Henricks and others in that camp of potential flight risk. So I guess I'm all Badgers, baby, which seems dirty for me to say. Like I need to wash my mouth out with soap.
You have to wash. You have to take a bath after saying you want to root for any of these 4 teams. So it's really a Sophie's choice here at this point.
But that one gives me the best rooting interest. Because there's no rooting interest at all for me rooting for North Dakota, Denver, or Michigan. Just varying levels of ugh.
Are your tickets in the first level? Are you in the lower bowl? Okay.
No. You've seen my bank account, and have you seen what the secondary market is going for these tickets? It's a little pricey, but
I was saying maybe for warm-ups, you can sneak down to the bottom, wear your St. Cloud State jersey, and have a big sign that says "We love Oliver," and maybe just stand right behind him, and maybe like slip him a new AirPods or something, or just be like, "It's
these are good ideas."
Yeah,
good ideas.
like just to be like, "Hey, like come home." So
yeah, I will be in my St. Cloud garb. If anyone else is going, which I think Dane Jacobson is, he says he always goes. So that's, if you see someone in a red St. Cloud jersey who's looks like he's about 8 beers deep, that's probably me. Although if there was another St. Cloud fan, they'd probably also be 8 beers deep. So
yeah, I was gonna say I don't know if you're limiting that much. So
just ask. Hey, are you Andrew, Huskies Hockey Podcast? We've got to have like a code word. We have like a passcode.
A passcode.
Passcode is Nick Oliver.
Is Jaeger.
The passcode is buy me a drink.
Yes, exactly. So
I'm going to be rooting for Wisconsin, but I'm going to bite the bullet. I think that North Dakota is going to win that game, and I think Denver is going to beat Michigan as well. Which again, I'm not like, hey, NCHC or die. I'm not the one that's going to be raising the banner for being in the same conference as the national champion, but I just think that those two teams, I think clearly their regional performance was more impressive than either Wisconsin or Michigan. So I like those two teams. I like those matchups. I like the NCHC coming out of both of those games. And between North Dakota and Denver, I'm going Denver, because I will never want to see North Dakota, especially if I'm going to be in the building. H to the double EL, no. That's heel or hell. Either way works. So I'm going to go Denver. Going Denver over North Dakota, even though I'll root for Wisconsin as timidly as I can. But I do think it's going to be the Pioneers over the Hawks.
It's kind of interesting because like maybe switching them, I might have a little bit of a different I guess answer. Like if we were switching the games to where the first round was Denver versus Wisconsin, you know, I'd pick Denver, and then if it was Michigan against North Dakota, I would pick Michigan. But
I could see that.
But the way, like you said, how it's set up, like nobody expected Wisconsin to be there, and I don't think Wisconsin has much of a chance against North Dakota. And I do kind of agree with your assessment, and I think it just kind of boils down for me. So it's going to be a bummer that we agree, but no one's beaten Johnny Hicks yet. Like, he's 14-0-1. 9.67 win percentage, 1.12 goals against, 958 save percentage. You know, his one tie, oddly enough, was to Colorado College. He only let in 2, only let in 3 goals once, and that was in that game against Minnesota Duluth for the NCHC championship, and did that over 81 minutes. So it's, you know, in a sense that was an extra period and change of hockey there. So, yeah, it's, so it's just kind of when I look at everything is that I think Denver's defense is too good. Their goaltending is too good. And I think it's just going to be Denver's tournament. I think that they're going to win the title game.
Like I'm even
ho hum, another championship for Denver.
I'm gonna go off book just so we don't completely agree, because you're taking North Dakota over Wisconsin.
Yes,
correct. Just to go off book, even though all logic points against it, I'll say it's going to be Denver over Wisconsin. I'm looking like maybe, you know, hey, maybe Wisconsin's got they can goalie North Dakota for a game. North Dakota's got, I mean, you're talking about Hicks being on a roll. Spooner shut out the entire regional in Sioux Falls. Whereas Wisconsin's goalie,
they had a cakewalk regional. They ended up in one though. So like,
yeah, that's true. But I mean, I'm looking at Wisconsin. Their the goalie that this Daniel Hauser, who played both of the games in Worcester, won that regional for him. For the season, he's got an .899 save, and he's the best of the two. Eli Pulver's got worse numbers than him. So I'm not even sure how Wisconsin even got to this point, frankly. So I'm going to go off. It is college hockey, though. It can one bounce, or ice conditions can be bad. To change it up, I'll say Denver over Scotty in the title game. And again, maybe that adds another $50K to Oliver's bonus by making that title game appearance. And I'd be rooting for Wisconsin to beat Denver in that title game too. But I do think this one's Denver's to lose. And Hicks just adds to all the other pieces that they have. Like Hicks was a guy that just kind of emerged all of a sudden halfway through the year. They, even without touching on goaltending, like this team has got the tools to win another natty on the strength of their forwards and defense especially with Polkamp leading the way there in that unit. So I feel like they're the team to beat, but I'm just hoping for some good games and for me not to die in Vegas, because if the Cards don't get played correctly in more than one way, this could be a long weekend and not good. But I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna have some fun. And bringing up Polkamp, maybe that's a good segue. He is up for Hobey. He's in the Hobey hat trick. We've got Polkamp alongside Max Plant from Duluth, and the only of these three that's not playing in the Frozen Four this weekend, because TJ Hughes from Michigan is the other candidate, and he's obviously playing this weekend. So of those three, which do you see coming out with the hardware on the Hobey side?
I think three of them are very good candidates. It is a little bit surprising me that Wittenbach wasn't listed as one of the three. I mean, maybe it's because he's a freshman, but 59 points on the year. Led the nation. TJ Hughes second with 56, and then Max Plant with 52. Obviously Polkamp down there a little bit on the list. I think he 39 ended with, but obviously as a defenseman and the highest scoring defenseman in the country. So it to me, if I'm going to break it down, is that obviously defense is maybe a little bit of a leg up in this instance, going up against Hughes and Max Plant. I've seen a lot more of Max Plant, so I kind of lean more that way. But I think if you're the voters, I think you would probably lean more TJ Hughes. I feel like him also being a senior, a little bit older, being Michigan. I think that you're kind of looking at him as that instance. So it's, if I'm going TJ Hughes or Eric Polkamp, which one do I think it's going to go? I could see either one of those winning. But I guess my gut feeling as of right now at this moment, it's going to be TJ Hughes, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's Polkamp. I would be a little surprised if it's Max Plant.
I mean, I agree, because when we're talking about NCHC Player of the Year, I think that we both agreed with Polkamp, but then Plant ends up winning that award. So with that kind of admit, I don't know, it's a different voting body. That's all NCHC voters in that conference award. You've got the national voting body at play for the Hobey, but one award that these two are up against, Plant emerged. The fact that he's not here this weekend, maybe.
Do you know who was WCHA Player of the Year?
Yeah, I know
Mark Hardigan.
I know that there's definite precedence that the local awards have voted a little bit differently than the Hobey,
and it went to a big name defender. So I mean, there's a lot of parallels going on right now that will point to Polkamp getting it over Plant.
But you're actually picking Hughes.
I'm actually picking Hughes, though. Yeah.
Which, I mean, the senior factor Polkamp being a junior, Plant a sophomore. If this was like 10, 20 years ago, certainly like 30 years ago, the senior would have the upper hand.
I do agree with that. It is a lot
seniors.
weaker of an argument as of late. Yes.
Yeah, they've gone.
They're not
away from that a little bit, for better or worse. I mean, if it was my vote, I think I would give it to Polkamp. I'm not sure if he's going to get it though. And I could see either of them get it. I'm going to go different than you though. I'll go with my pick and I'll say Polkamp. But I would not be surprised if it's either Hughes or Plant. They love giving it to Duluth players. This would be another notch in the Duluth Hobey collection.
Yeah.
The last player for Duluth to win it, Perunovich. How about, so I'll give you a couple of others here. The last Michigan player to win. This one should be kind of easy. It's fairly recent.
One of the three.
Yeah, talking about freshmen winning the award.
Yeah, it wasn't Comfer. Fantilli.
That was in 23. Perunovich, as I mentioned, was in 2020. How about the last Denver player to win? It only goes back to 2016, 2017. So not super
Butcher?
long ago. Will Butcher, another defenseman.
Yep.
So maybe there was a pattern there. The last Denver prior to that, also a defenseman, 2006.
2006.
I'll give you this hint. He's related to the coach of Denver.
Oh. Well, Carl.
Is that brain farting on his first name?
Yeah.
Matt Carl.
Matt Carl.
Only 2 Denver winners of the award. Butcher and Carl from the Point. Figures I like that feels wrong. Like it feels like there's been like 3 other Denver Hobies, but the only ones that they've had have been D-men, and it very well could be a third this week on Friday. But I guess we'll see. And that Matt Carl one stands out too, because it's one of the very few. I did this research a couple years ago. I think there's been 3 players that have won when their teams did not qualify for the NCAA tournament, and Carl's 06 Denver team surprisingly did not make the tournament. So that sticks out as a bit of an oddity, but we'll see if that makes it a third Denver point man to scoop up the award, but we shall see.
What was Wisconsin's last one? That wasn't Jeffrey on, was it?
I'm going to say it was. Or no, it was Caulfield. Who's having a monster year.
Of course, Cole Caulfield won. Yeah.
Is he up to
Another
50 yet?
Young.
Yeah. I think he was at 49 the last time I saw, but he's having quite the NHL career. He was a great player in college. I didn't expect like this kind of production at the NHL level, but yeah, he won in the COVID year of 2020, 2021. And then it would have been Jeffrey on. Wisconsin, those are the only 2 for Wisconsin. Again, some of these players, like I thought that Steve Reinprecht won, but he might have won WCHA Player of the Year in that year. Was that 2000, 99, 2000 maybe, when he had his big year? But
yeah,
I would have figured that Wisconsin would have had more than 2 Hobies.
He was on a line with Danny Heatley.
That was a hell of a line.
So, okay, we had Michigan, Denver, Wisconsin, North Dakota's last one was probably Duncan, right?
Correct.
I can't think of anyone after Duncan.
Yeah, Herkus would have won in 87. Those are their only 2.
Ah, they've only had 2, huh?
Again, yeah, you feel like, Harvard's had 4 Hobies.
Jeez.
But yet, Nodak's only got 2, and Denver's only got 2. But, and Duluth has, 6? So it's a little strange how it can all kind of shake out like that. But you'd like to blame it on East Coast bias, but most of these are from the West, so you can't even put it on that.
Do they count Isaac Howard as like a quarter for Minnesota Duluth?
I don't think they should. I bet there's some.
I don't think they should either. But like
some fans that probably do.
Like, what are we doing for these transfers? Like, are we giving a little bit of credit over to Bemidji State if Polkamp wins?
Yeah, maybe
Bemidji State native. Congratulations.
Hang a banner in Sanford Center. Like, we had the freshman year of 2026 Hobey winner Eric Polkamp. Could be.
Yeah. Well, that about does it on this episode of the Huskies Hockey Podcast. We'll be back next week, a little bit later in the week next week. Hopefully we'll have a coach at that point and talk about maybe a little bit of a look back behind the curtain, maybe a press conference, or maybe we're still going to be treading water, wondering what the hell's going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns still going on. Transfer portal's going to open up. We'll see what kind of bloodbath's gonna come from this, but at any rate, a lot to talk about, and you can follow all of the action on X from me at More Clappers, MOAR, More Clappers. Andrew, you can find him
at Andrew SCSUHHP, cloud coverage hockey.substack.com. Still working on that regional piece with attendance. It's pretty research heavy article, so I hope to get that out before I leave for Vegas. Well, that might be pushing it, but
Viva Las Vegas.
Wanted to get something out, so that's why I had something about the coaching search on there, and maybe if
and a shout out from Gibby too. Look at that.
I think it was him, at least. I mean, it's someone named Mike Gibbons commented on it, so that was interesting. But yeah, want to get some content out. So check that out if you haven't already. Email the show also, huskieshockeypodcast@gmail.com. You can email the show. You can tweet me if you are going to be in Vegas and want to buy me a drink. There's not going to be any shortage of drinks for me in Vegas, I'm sure. But if you are,
he's going to need it. So
if you are a listener and you are going to be there, St. Cloud fans have to team up. We got to stick together. We're going to be very outnumbered in Vegas with all the other, at least the 4 fan bases that will be there of teams that are playing. So yeah, if you see me in the St. Cloud jersey, don't be afraid. Come up and say hi.
And special congratulations to all of the Herbie winners as well.
Yes.
Except maybe a little bit less so to Sydney Lamb for ended up hightailing out of here. But again, you're going out east, so happy you're not in the WCHA. So I guess that's a little bit of a point.
God, I wonder too, because remember last year I actually presented, well, not that that's a physical award, but I did tell Isaac Posh in person that he won
that's right.
the MVP because he was in the AHL and his team was playing in Tucson and he was scratched that game. And I'm like, I think that's Posh. And I went up to him and I'm like, are you Isaac Posh? Oh yeah. And I'm like, this is going to sound weird, but you won a Herbie. And I explained it to him and he was
confused.
He put on a good game face. I'll give him that
there we
much.
go.
But that was the only time I've done that. We actually presented them an award. So if that happens, if any of these guys, I don't know, or any of them are going to sign in the AHL, because again, I don't think Gross is going to appear in the AHL this year. But
probably not this year.
If I don't see you in person, then it's in the mail.
It's in the mail. Yeah, exactly. So. Thank you ever for listening, and until next time, go Huskies. Woo!